I've been working on a vampire survivors-like game called Sewer Swarm, where the goal is to survive as long as possible while being swarmed by waves of enemies. You get to pick your passive and active abilities before the match starts. This way the gameplay stays uninterrupted. So right now there are 4 playable classes: the Warrior, Magician, Archer, and Rogue. You have 1 passive and 4 active abilities, and there are 3 choices for each ability. So I think this adds some variety and replayability. As you defeat monsters, you'll gain XP and unlock abilities at certain levels. There are also 3 unique events that spawn on the map. Completing these events reward you with weapon upgrades and temporary power-ups to help you survive as the swarm of enemies grow stronger. Now, I wanted a game with a pretty simple art style. That's why I went for the top-down 2D perspective, and it's easy for me to do since I've already done this in the COD Zombies game. But there would be 3 major challenges that I faced when making the game. That would be the class design, the performance, and the balance. When it comes to the class design, I first just kind of made abilities for all of the characters. They didn't really fit a specific thematic or felt cohesive. I just kind of wanted to make a spell and I just threw it in there. But out of all 4 classes, the Rogue is the one I'm most proud of. Each row of spells fit into a specific identity. The first row focuses on the shadow clones. The second row emphasizes mobility. And the third row is all about ranged attacks like throwing stars. The shadow clones are inspired by Zed from League of Legends, and the throwing stars and the shadow partner are inspired by MapleStory. The shadow clones mimic the abilities you used, and programming all the ways that they interact with the player's abilities was a pretty fun challenge. Now, another issue I faced when making the game was performance. Now, I anticipated performance to be an issue. All the Survivor-like games have hundreds of enemies on your screen at once, and then I have a bunch of little EXP objects. So the goal was to make the enemies and the EXP objects as small as possible to make sure that they demanded very, very little resources. By far, the biggest challenge I've experienced while making the game has been balance. The game is too easy for some players and then way too complicated for other players, and trying to strike a balance somewhere in between has been my goal. The game starts off pretty slow. You only have 1 ability and there's not too many enemies, and then gradually over time, as you level up, you get more abilities, your character gets stronger, and then the swarm is more and more overwhelming. The average match should be 5 to 10 minutes long. Currently, if you beat 10 minutes, you pretty much just don't die at that point. You just become way too OP. Your character is way too strong. So it's been really challenging to find that balance, and I'm still not quite there yet. In the future, I'd love to bring the other classes up to the same level of polish as the Rogue. I'm also working on adding sound, new effects, and full controller support. After that, I may release a small update or 2, but if you have any cool ideas for abilities, event types, or really anything, just feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear it. If you'd like to test it out, the game is available for free on my itch page. There's no download required. It can be played directly in the browser. Also, if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to drop a comment or let me know. Thank you, and have a nice day.